I'm Associate Professor Vince Mangioni. I'm the Associate Dean of Education in the Faculty of Design, Architecture and Building at the University of Technology, Sydney. On my visit to Madras Institute, I was the Associate Head of School of the Built Environment, working with Shankar Sankaran and Yongjin Ki in the area of PPPs. And I had sabbatical in the second half of 2018 and was kindly invited to spend some time at your lovely campus, and was treated very, very well and very, very welcoming. And I enjoyed it, and thank you for that opportunity. We were looking at, and it was part of a new area of research, evolving area of research, was to look at private-public partnerships, but more so the way in which different jurisdictions around the world adopted what's called value capture revenue raising options to fund public infrastructure. So the purpose of attending MIT was to also visit the light rail office, and this was organised through your university to meet with and to have a discussion on the way that this project was put together. It's it's a form of light rail which is evolving in many cities around the world as a way of transporting people around the city. So there were two parts to this. One, to visit the organisation that ran this, and I can't recall their exact name, the exact name of the organisation at the moment, but it was organised through MIT, and I spent an afternoon with them going through the processes, the funding mechanisms, and to understand how transport infrastructure operated in, I think it's Karnataka, your state of India. And it was very good because Australia, like India, is a similar federated structure of government, and the funding mechanisms they have some similarities, being also a Commonwealth countries. So the project was very good. The observations of the project was very good, and then part two of the visit was to spend some time on campus and to present on the public infrastructure and mechanisms for funding PPPs, which I gave a guest lecture at the university, and then further to meet with a group of your PhD students and to look at their work. So there were 4 or 5 PhD students at the time who presented their work at the various stages of their development to me. And then I had a great fortune of meeting with each one of those students for about 45 minutes to discuss their work, to ask questions and to seek feedback on their research progress and what they saw as being the opportunities in this field for their careers in India and indeed abroad, and what opportunities may exist in time to be able to collaborate further with our institution, the UTS. I attended a number of sessions and presentations by the students and the fellow academics that presented some of their work and some of their lectures. So I was able to sit in on lectures, on some tutorials, which I found very informative from two perspectives. One on knowledge and content, which I thought was very good. It's always good to hear in other countries' experiences and the way things are done abroad, and I found that very good. But I also noted the manner in which teaching is undertaken, which is the area that I supervise across the faculty, and the engagement that's used between the professors and the students, and the open forums for students to be able to interact with one another and also with the professors during the lectures, I thought was very informative. So I liked the way in which the lectures, the tutorials, and the workshops were run at MIT. I thought that they were very, very well structured. They had a good student-teacher ratio. I thought that there was great opportunity for interaction activities between the students and some of the group work that I observed, and also some very constructive feedback that I thought worked very well between the professors, the academics, and the students. So they were given continual feedback and comments, and the way the lessons were structured was that there was a clear guidelines about what they were going to learn, why they needed to learn it, and then how they were going to be taught and impart that information. So it was a very, very sound and good experience. I very much enjoyed it. And then I was given an opportunity to ask the students and to speak to the students at the end of a couple of these sessions. And they gave me some very constructive feedback about their learning experiences at MIT and how positive it was, which reaffirms the learning experience. So overall, very, very good, and very good support and engagement opportunities for the students. So we had an opportunity to collaborate and talk about the development process, the funding mechanisms, and then the planning and permission processes that underpin this kind of infrastructure in Sydney, and make some comparisons of how it works in Madras and in Chennai. So it was a very insightful collaboration. It still is, because I stay in touch with Ashwin. I understand that we will be doing some further publications on this, and that we have a lot of commonality and opportunities for our students to work for our students to be able to visit India, and for some of your students and some of Ashwin's students to be able to visit us in Sydney, Australia. At the moment, unfortunately, we can't with the COVID situation, but we're very positive about that evolving. And in fact, COVID, if you said what was the positive about it, I think it showed our strengths that we have between IIT and UTS, because we have been increasing our communications and working very, very successfully with Ashwin and the team at IIT, and Shankar and myself, about the opportunities that exist for further collaboration. So I think that this is at the beginning of a very good journey. We're really welcome and thank Ashwin and the team at IIT for the great work that's being done. International office then become involved and were very supportive and very helpful. So assisted me with some of the documentation that I would need to visit, which was pretty straightforward. And I'd been to India about 3 times prior. So I know I had been to the southern part of India. It had been a number of years, but the office was very, very good. Then I was picked up at the airport and brought to the campus. Someone was there to welcome me. I was brought to the campus, and that was around midnight. It was quite late, I remember. And there was someone there to greet me, to take me to the room and just make sure that everything worked well, and it did. And it was a very nice room. And so I was able to settle in and have a sleep after the long trip. And then the next day, I had a lovely ring on the doorbell, and as from my earlier experiences and visits to India, they had the lovely cup of coffee that they have there, and the condensed milk that's used in it, and I always enjoyed that, so it brought back some great memories. And then Ashwin came and visited me after lunch. He gave me some time, and we had a little bit of a discussion and talk about this. And then I was brought down and introduced to members of the international office of that organised, that assisted me with this, and introduced to the academics, and then just an initial introduction to the students. So I found the whole visit, and then my visits out to the infrastructure providers that I conducted interviews with was very well organised and very professionally done. And look, I came back and I felt so welcomed and part of the university. Was very, very good. So yeah, no, thank you very much for that kindness. The overall stay was very, very good. And I found the campus very, very interesting. So it's a large, sprawling campus. And I noted the buses that run in it, one in each direction, one north-south and east-west. I think that was the directions I would go in. So you were always able to hop on a bus. And there was a very good, opposite where I stayed, there was a gym. So I would go there in the morning and do a little bit of a workout in the gym. And some mornings before it got too hot, I would go for a short run, a 4 or 5 kilometre run on the campus. And that was very, very good. And I noticed a lot of wildlife on the campus. There were, I think there were monkeys and there were deer in there. And it was very, very insightful, very, very good. And then there were various places to eat on campus. And everyone was very friendly, always saying hello and nodding and how are you and where are you from, and a little bit of talking about the cricket, because that's another area we have in commonality between Australia and India, very, very competitive cricket team. So I would have discussions with students and staff. And then even it was a different faculty I happened to wander into. I think it was engineering by accident. And they said, oh, come in and we'll show you. And so they showed me around a little bit. And then I came to the buildings, your area, and met with the staff. And it was very, very good. I must say I was very welcomed. And we went out and had dinner one night. And it was a very, very interesting stay. So I greatly enjoyed it. And yeah, very nice campus. And, you know, one of the things I noticed about India was the kindness and friendliness of people. That I often had a saying every time I came to India that was something new that I observed. And I think the last time I visited, and it was something I have always observed, that the saying was that everyone got along. You know, it's a very populated country and it's self-sufficient. I really enjoyed a lot of the train travel between the cities. It's very agrarian, so it's got very good food support systems. And, you know, I noticed in the south in particular, where I did enjoy a number of visits to Goa and Kerala and, of course, Karnataka. I really enjoyed my travels in my youth. And to come back again in the last visit, I think it was a lot of reminiscing in there, mixed in with the trip. I was very excited about coming back to India for those very reasons, that I think it's a very tolerant and, you know, self-sustained and, you know, caring kind of country. People are very, very interested in and care about each other. I always found it a great place, and that's why I think I came back. I learned a lot of lessons from traveling in India over the years, over the decades. And I would often travel to Nepal first and go into the Himalayas. Then I would come back and then fly into a different part of India in each trip. And sometimes it was on the beaches, or sometimes it was in the Ghats and the mountains. It depended on where I decided to go, but it always brought me back. So I was, you know, I think it's a great country, and you know, we look forward to not just on the leisurely side, but also the professional side. And I'm very happy that when I joined the university, we have this association with India. So yeah, great country, well done, and good luck with the cricket, because we're it's a very competitive sport, and we both like to win. As a not-for-profit organisation or business, and that's what we are in the university sector, largely government funded, is it to maintain its relevance. And I noted that from the PhD students that I interviewed and spoke with, that it's critically important that IIT stays in touch as it is with the industries, with the professions, and be guided by what is required of a student, both in technical skills and in soft skills, the ability to communicate, to write and to speak to clients, to government and to industry, to have that skill set also included in the graduate attributes of its courses, and also to ensure that the course content maintains relevance to what industry requires, and that you revisit and run focus groups of students that are about to graduate, that have graduated 5 years out, and to CEOs of your companies to ask the critical evaluative question: are our courses serving the industries that we're designed to serve? And what could be done differently, or what do they anticipate needs to be adjusted for in our courses and in our learning for the next 3 to 5 years, so that you stay ahead of, or at least up with the game, and that your degrees stay at the cutting edge of industry and what is required. And I think that that's the most important thing that I drive in my role as the Associate Dean of Education and require it of all my academics. And I think that if you were to follow that or have that in your toolkit of requirements, that will keep you in good stead and stay industry relevant, making sure that your courses are in high demand and that your students are sought by industry as a pathway to employment from the degree or during the latter part of their degrees. So government in funding can make the connection between what your degree does and the pathway it leads to, and that it's meeting the needs of industry. So it requires a closing of the loop for the funding that you obtain. That's probably the most critical comments. And I think you're doing that from what I could see, but just make sure you stay on top of that. It's very important.